We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary in business. Cheers to you. Hey everybody, Katie Lance here, founder and CEO of Katie Lance Consulting, the Get Social Smart Academy, and author of the book Get Social Smart. It's episode 294, and I'm so excited because it is our 10-year anniversary in business. So this month we're going to talk all about our business, and I want to give you a little bit of a backstory. This month's going to be a little bit of a story time when it comes to Katie Lance Consulting and the Get Social Smart Academy. If you follow me on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or any of the socials, you know most of our videos are tips, tools, and tricks, and don't worry, we've got tons of those coming, but I thought we could do something a little bit fun, a little bit different for this month as we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary in business. So this video in particular, I'm going to take you back in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to share with you a little bit about how our business started, what it looked like, where it is now, and I also want to share a few lessons. So make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end because I have a few important lessons, and I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs, many of you are realtors, many of you run your own business, many of you have thought about running your own business at some point. So I want to share a few lessons learned at the end, so stay tuned all the way to the end. So we started our business back in 2012, and at that time I was working for Inman News, and a lot of you I met during that time. Some of you I only met recently, so you may not be aware that I worked for Inman for many years. And my backstory is before that I worked for a real estate company, a small boutique real estate company here in the San Francisco Bay Area. That's really where I got my feet wet in the world of real estate marketing. It's really where I fell in love with agents and brokers, and really saw how hard agents and brokers work day in and day out. And from there moved to work for Inman News for many years. I was their marketing director. I did a ton of stuff behind the scenes, and then I was their social media director. I helped start the ambassador program at Inman, which has been so awesome to see it flourish and grow, and is now run by the awesome Lauren Monroe, a dear friend of mine. And it was really interesting being at Inman at that time. It was a really critical point in social media. You know, it was kind of the end of the early 2000s, 2009, 10, 11, right, 12, right in that area. And it was really awesome to be on the ground helping grow those social media channels. And it was around, like I said, early kind of 2012, where if you've been in this situation before, you know, if you've worked at a company for some time, sometimes you get that little bug in the back of your head that's like, gosh, I wonder what's next, right? And so started kind of exploring what that would look like. Started, confidentially chatting with a few people, a few mentors that I respected. And after doing a lot of soul searching and after talking to my awesome husband, we decided, you know what? Let's take the leap. I thought to myself, I don't want to just work with one brand or one company. Like, what would it look like if I went out on my own? And so we talked about it, and it's a big decision for anyone. And at the time, our boys were little. I was chatting with my boys just yesterday, and now they're 12 and 15. So 10 years ago, they were 2 and 5. They were little, and there's lots of things to consider. And I, can't thank my husband enough, who, by the way, is behind the scenes right now recording this video. But he was so supportive from day one. And I'll never forget when we first set up shop, we lived in a different house at the time, and our family room had this little area kind of behind the couch. And so I remember propping up like a card table and had like a tablecloth and laptop kind of propped up. And that worked for a little bit, but I'll never forget when he was like, you know what, we need to get you some new furniture. And so we made the trek to IKEA and made probably the first big investment in our business, which was new red office furniture, which I still have to this day in our office. I absolutely love our red office, and it's one of the things that I would recommend too in terms of when you start your own business and you go out on your own, like having a place that you love to go to each and every day, even if it's right just a few steps from your bedroom, maybe it's a corner of your house, but having a space that you love is awesome. So that's how we got started, and I have to say we hit the ground running. I'm so fortunate that when we started October 1st, 2012 was our first day. We already had a number of clients right from the get-go. In fact, Inman was one of my first clients, which is so awesome. And what I I've learned are, so many things. And so we'll get into lessons learned here in just a second. So in the very beginning, our business was primarily consulting. We were doing a ton of consulting, and I'm so honored to say I've worked with some of the best and biggest brands in the real estate world, from state associations like the California Association of Realtors to great tech companies like DocuSign to some of the most awesome franchises like RE/MAX and Coldwell Banker and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and Realty One Group. And we have just worked with tons of companies, large and small, over the years. And it's been really amazing to learn and kind of have that, kind of bird's eye view into how different organizations are run. Since 2012, our business has evolved. And, some people, when I chat about our consulting, are a little surprised to hear that we don't do a whole lot of consulting these days. Now, I don't want to say we don't do any consulting, but it's really kind of, our business has changed and evolved. One of the biggest changes to our business was the creation of our Get Social Smart Academy, which we're going to talk about in our next video. So shameless plug, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed already, so you don't miss that next video. And a huge part of our business now is our Get Social Smart Academy, which is our membership site. We have so many awesome agents and brokers, nearly 1,000 agents and brokers from really all over the world that we've been able to help through our academy. Our business has also evolved in terms of speaking. I really, over the last 10 years, have done a ton of speaking all over the world to groups large and small, and we're actually going to do a whole video about this in just a couple weeks and kind of share with you some backstory in terms of speaking, how to get started with speaking, how we've grown our speaking business, and that's evolved as well. Especially with what happened with COVID in 2020, so much of our business now is virtual as well as now in person, which is really exciting. So, things grow. I remember when we first started, it was just myself, and a few years after we started, my husband was able to quit his corporate job and join me full time. And I always tell people, he has been there the whole time. Even when he was working his corporate job, he was behind the scenes, helping out, doing the stuff that, you just have to take care of, the finances, the invoices, the business part of running a business. And so, I certainly couldn't do what I do without him. I may be the one that you see the most in front of the camera, but things would not operate if he was not behind the scenes. So it's been awesome to be partners in life and also partners in business. And of course, our team has grown. When I first started out, like I said, it was myself and Paul behind the scenes, and it's been amazing to see our team grow and evolve over the years. And I just give so much credit and thanks to everyone who we've had the chance to work with, whether it was for a short period of time, a longer period of time. We've certainly learned a lot about, growing a team and everything. So we're so grateful for the folks that we're able to work with day in and day out. Okay, so let's get into those lessons learned. So I want to share with you 5 business lessons that we've learned over the years, especially as we celebrate our 10-year anniversary. Lesson number 1, find a niche and stick with it. I have to say, this is one of the things that has made such a huge difference in our business. I really, like I said, fell in love with the real estate industry many years ago. And when we went out on our own, we really thought about, gosh, who could we serve? And I have to admit, in the beginning, when you're first starting a business, it's like you just say yes to everybody. You say yes to any opportunity. And what I realized is that by really leaning into your niche, you become even more valuable. I know in the world of social media, there's thousands of social media experts and speakers that are out there, but the fact that I've really leaned into the real estate and mortgage space, I think is such an important thing, right? Becoming known in a specific niche is huge. I'll never forget, a few years ago, one of my favorite books is a book called Known by Mark Schaefer. I highly recommend it. And it's such a great reminder and a great book about how to get known in your space. And a big part of that is being consistent, putting yourself out there over the course of time, right? And it's really awesome what happens when you do that. So find a niche and stick with it. Number 2, this might be controversial, but my second lesson learned is fake it till you make it. Now, I know some of you might be watching this going, I hate that phrase, and I get it, right? We don't want to be fake in our business. But I think sometimes if we wait till everything is right, everything is perfect, we'll never get started. One of the things I've shared over the years is we didn't even have a website when we first started. We didn't have a website until I think 2013 or so. So if I would have just waited till everything was right, till we had a website in place, to be honest with you, I didn't even really have a business plan. We had a really good idea and we knew what I was really good at, and we leaned into that. And I think sometimes you have to figure it out along the way, right? Sometimes you have to say yes, make mistakes, and learn along the way, right? So sometimes it's a little bit of fake it till you make it, and some of the coolest things can happen when you do that. Lesson number 3. The fortune is in the follow-up. So I have to say I borrowed this from my good friend Chris Smith. Chris and I work together at Inman News, and I have heard him say this over and over again, and he is so right. The fortune is in the follow-up. I always say I'm probably not the smartest person in any room, but I will outwork anyone hands down. And I think one of the ways that I do that is in the follow-up. If I'm reaching out to someone, if I have sent a proposal, it's all about following up, right? And, not to the point of being annoying, but following up. And I think part of that is having systems in place. One of the tools I've used for years that has really helped me with this is Boomerang. Boomerang is a great free tool, especially if you have Gmail, you can add it on. And a lot of times when I'm sending a pitch, maybe I'm pitching myself for speaking, or I'm following up on someone who is looking to hire me, or someone's interested in our academy, and I'm after I've responded to them, I will boomerang that message back to me in 2 days or 3 days as a follow-up, right? And then I'll boomerang it again back to me maybe 3 or 4 days later. Or maybe they say, hey, get back to me next month. So guess what? I'm going to boomerang it back to myself in a month from now. And it's a small way to just stay on top of it. I just find from being on the other side of things, oftentimes we will reach out to companies or freelancers for services, and sometimes the follow-up isn't that great. It's like, wait, where's that proposal? And just that follow-up I think is so important. So remember that the fortune is in the follow-up. I think sometimes we think, well, I don't want to bug people, but I know as a busy professional, I appreciate when someone follows up, right? So remember that the fortune's in the follow-up. Lesson number 4, don't be afraid to ask for the sale. So whether it comes from speaking, for us it's our academy, back in the day when we were doing more consulting, whatever it might be, whatever industry you're in, don't be afraid to ask. I know a lot of you are realtors, so just that question might be, hey, is this the one? Is this the home for you, right? Or, hey, are we ready to go? Are you ready to sign? Like, just asking. I think sometimes we get to, like the 1 yard line and then we don't ask, right? And I remember learning this back in the day. Many of you who follow me for a long time know I used to work for Vector Marketing and Cutco. In fact, I did a whole podcast about that a long time ago. We'll have to link that below if you're curious about my journey there. So, but yes, I've always learned, and I learned that back then, you have to ask for the order. You have to ask for the sale. It doesn't mean you have to be smarmy or salesy, but a lot of what you do in business is you're selling yourself. So whatever your business is, you might say, oh, I don't like sales. And I remember saying that, like, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. But if you're doing it right, you're not necessarily being a quote unquote salesperson. You're building value. You're showing that you care. You're following up. You're being authentic. And if you've done your job right, at the end of the day, asking for that sale, asking, hey, is this going to work out? Hey, and getting that confirmation, it makes a big difference. Okay, lesson number 5. It's okay to say no. It's okay to have boundaries. Now, this is really tough when you first start off, right? When you first start your business, you're like, yes, I'm going to say yes to everything. Say yes, figure it out later. And I operated that way for a long time. And then I started to feel a little bit of burnout. And what I realized is that if I didn't set boundaries, that my boundaries were going to get pushed each and every day. And I've talked about this, over the years in various formats, but I know for us, one of the things that I do is at the end of the year when I'm planning for the following year, I always knock out my non-negotiable dates. Like, what are the days I'm not working? And for us, it's my birthday, our kids' birthdays, usually like the first day of school, last day of school. We plan out our vacations. And anything that's important, whether that's church, family, like whatever is most important to you. And I find as an entrepreneur, if you don't plan on that time and taking that time off and having boundaries as far as when are you going to take your first call? When are you going to take your last appointment? And of course, there's always exceptions here and there depending on the situation. But having those boundaries and being able to say, you know what, thank you so much for reaching out. Unfortunately, I'm not available this day. How about this day or this day? Or thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't know if I'm the best I don't think I'm the best fit for you, but I have got 2 people that I think would be awesome. Let me refer you that way. So being prepared ahead of time to say no, it's okay, right? The busiest people we know oftentimes have those boundaries, and honestly, I think people respect it even more, when you can have some boundaries and parameters. So don't be afraid to say no. Like I said, I'm so excited to be here, so excited to celebrate this 10-year anniversary with you. I can't wait to hear from you. I would absolutely love to know, if you've been following us for a long time, what are some of your favorite memories or some of your favorite ahas that you have received from me? Maybe it's through YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, or maybe we're friends in real life or social media, but let me know. I would love to hear some of those favorite moments or memories or ahas. Let me know in the comments below. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, gosh, how can we work together? We would absolutely love to work with you. One of the best ways to work with us is through our academy. If you go to katielance.com/academy, it's going to tell you all about what our academy is, and we would absolutely love to work with you. Of course, you can go to our main website as well and find out more about speaking and hiring me as a speaker for your next event. All right, my friends, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell button if you're watching this over on YouTube, because this whole month we've got lots of great insights kind of behind the scenes in our business. Thank you so much, everyone, and cheers to the next 10 years and beyond.